Hey, good evening, friends. Today, my friends, is Wednesday, December the 31st, 2025, and the time now is 8 o'clock p.m. So, friends, I want to say Happy New Year, and I wish you all a prosperous, wonderful, safe, and a healthy 2026. Now, friends, I want to talk about Somaliland, Somalia, and or Israel. And friends, I want to talk specifically about the fact that just recently Israel recognized the breakaway region of Somaliland. Now, friends, I made a video quite recently about the situation between Somalia and Somaliland, which goes back in the 90s, 91 and so on. So Somaliland had breaking away from Somalia, and it is said that they had been administering themselves for over 30 years now or so. Whatever the case may be, friends, it is very interesting that as of now we are seeing lots of breakaway activities in Africa. I think African states should not be breaking away. Okay, we need to keep them peaceful and together. And one prominent African state that I think we as Africans, us as Africans, we need to strive by all accounts, by all means, to keep that country unified is Nigeria. Nigeria being the most populous country on the African continent with a population of about 230, 237 to 250 million people. Keeping Nigeria together, unified, by all means, should be the policy, the domestic policy of the rest of Africa or of any and every African, especially black African countries and the African Union, as well as the ECOWAS, okay? Even though ECOWAS right now is a shit show, and ECOWAS has proven itself to be an arm, okay, of the colonial West. If Africans, Pan-Africans can interject, okay, can inject themselves secretly into ECOWAS, they need to strive to keep Nigeria peaceful and unified. Now, friends, I apologize for deviating. In terms of the situation in the Horn of Africa, by Israel recognizing Somaliland. Somaliland, many, they are very much happy. The people who hail from what is now Somaliland, they are happy. Kudos to them. For Israel, Israel is able to win support because in this case, Israel will get an ally on the African continent, okay? Basically, to keep voting for Israel and keep the momentum for Israel's case, because that's what this is about. However, what this does is it creates fracture on the African continent. It creates fracture in the African Union. Now, it is very interesting the time that Israel is doing this. Recently, you have the United States president referring to Somalians as garbage people and that their country is garbage and so on. Somalians are being arrested, hunted down in Minnesota and in the United States. You have a lot of false allegations on or about Somalians. In this scenario, you have Israel going about welcoming and or let's say approving and or recognizing Somaliland as a sovereign country. I think it is insulting to Somalia, Somaliland, and everybody who call themselves people of Somalian or Somali descent, however it is said. Because this is not about human rights. It is not about supporting the rights of the Somalilanders, okay, to become independent. This is about creating friction. Already we have the Houthis, okay, in Yemen are making threats that if Israel try nonsense in Somaliland, they are going to go off. This is an issue for Africa. Now, in terms of Somalia, Somalia needs to begin to interact more with Africa, the African Union, and it is interesting. With all the nonsense that had been going on with Trump's disrespect of Somalians, of Somali people, and you have images, videos of some Somalians talking about they are not Africans, okay, they are Somali, they are Arab. It is interesting. I think Somalia needs to begin to Somalia needs to make it a priority to re-engage with Black Africa, with its Africanness. Look, I get the point. Arab, being Arab, as I've learned, it's not just the Arab people. When we think Arab, we think the Arab, light-skinned Arab people. But Arab is also a culture that you can be dark as the darkest person in Africa, that you're an Arab. Because Arab is also a culture, not just in an ethnic group. So perhaps this is where many Somalians are coming from, or Somali are coming from. However, the way I think we've treated Somali and Somalia, many in Africa and in the African diaspora, African Americans, pointing to Somalia, okay, trolling them for saying that they are not Africans, they are Arabs. I think we need to treat them with dignity, and also we need to treat them with courtesy and try to understand the way the whole idea of Arab is accepted or promoted. It is not just an ethnic group. In the United States and much of the world, we've come to acknowledge Arab and what Arab is to be an ethnic group of light-skinned people, long nose and a beard. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful or racist. I'm just trying to demonstrate what we've been taught of. Okay, what we've been taught. But Arab, as I've also learned, is a cultural entity. Being an Arab is culture. In this case, you can be darker and be an Arab. You are in the Arab culture. Arabism doesn't necessarily mean an ethnic group of light-skinned people with beard. So in this case, we need to treat Somalians and other Africans who consider themselves Arabs with courtesy, with compassion, and try to understand where they are coming from. Because in their heritage, what they've been taught to be Arab. Okay, Arab. Now, in terms of the situation, it's very much interesting because what it is creating, Israel in this case, recognizing Somaliland as an independent country, and Israel being the only country who had done that, with the United States president recently coming about supporting Israel's action in recognizing Somaliland as an independent entity. It creates fracture on the African continent. In this case, I think African Union need to then say, okay, Israel, we are done with you. Definitely, you are not even going to have an observer within the African Union, because this is bad. You are in a party, you are invited to a party, or you are not even part of the entity that is organizing the party. However, out of courtesy and friendship, you are allowed to come into the party. And all of a sudden, you are creating a fight, okay, within a family group that is relating to the party affiliation. That is bad. You are just observing, and all of a sudden, you are approving or you are recognizing one of the party, okay, one of the entity as being different, as not being part of, or you are creating a fight within the party. I think the African Union needs to make a strong message to say enough is enough. But I've been trying to connect the dot with Donald Trump bombing the hell out of Nigeria, Donald Trump threatening the African country. Israel coming about, and just recently, Israel arrested some Ghanaian diplomats and detained them, questioned them, interrogated them. As a result, Ghana basically did the same, okay? Kicked out some Israeli official. In this case, Ghana is saying, we are not going to take shit from you. But Nigeria being bombed, and now Israel going about and recognizing Somaliland. Nigeria so far is quiet. So far, the rest of Africa is quiet. Only Somalia and South Africa, I had heard, made statement, in fact, in the UN Security Council. So what we are seeing is outside entities making moves, promoting activities that are doing nothing but creating friction within the African diaspora, within the African Union, and within domestic continental Africa. And I think Africans born on the continent and Africans in the diaspora who still have an ounce of love and respect for the continent and for their heritage need to begin to speak and speak up loudly. I know the historian and commentator and influencer, Gerald Horn. I watched one of his program, okay, his interview, and he stressed the need for an international solidarity group of Africans and the diaspora. In this case, by creating this group will act as a force to speak up loudly, to organize a resistance against Western countries and outside infiltrators, outside entities that are promoting activities, carrying out actions that are creating friction within Africa and the African diaspora. And that I do support and respect and hope that becomes the case. Now, friends, in terms of the situation in Africa, in terms of Israel recognizing Somaliland, I think Africans in the African Union, Africans in academia, and Africans who are in think tanks need to begin to collaborate, cooperate, come together, and try to come up with a policy or envision a policy for Africa to move forward, begin to promote stability by its own account in order to serve as a resistance to the activities or actions of outside forces. Now, friends, please tell me what you think, and I really want to know what you think. However, my friends, I am going to end here. I want to thank you for being a member of the Echoing Voice community, my friends, but most especially and most importantly, or most important, friends, I want to thank you a lot for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace, my friends. Peace.